Good morning. It's a little bit before 4 in the morning. I've been up for quite a while, too doggone long, so it's going to throw me off. But that's all right. I rediscovered my CPAP machine, and I feel so much better. I still don't like that apparatus, and I don't trust the materials that are in it very well either. I don't have much faith or much trust. Anyway, I have a good announcement for you. In order to unite humanity, you have to have a superordinate goal that you cannot accomplish unless you unite everybody, unless everybody's united. It brings everybody together. As I'm bringing this to your attention, I don't think the idea is so good in some ways, because I think people are going to be fighting over limited resources and over limited space for the purposes of survival. We have a bunch of governments, a one world government, that is genociding us every which way possible, every which way imaginable, in ways you can't even imagine. They are actively shortening our lives and sometimes killing us outright. Today in the United States of America, we're losing approximately 12,000 people a day. That's my guesstimate. It's my estimate. Due to the medical practice and their screw-ups and the fact they won't be honest with us. Everything is controlled from the top down. Medical doctors can't practice the way they want. Insurance companies dictate to what their practice is going to be. And who owns the insurance companies? The pharmaceutical industry. So it's all one big racket. And it came out of ancient Khazaria, which is pretty much where the Ukraine is right now. And their capital, the most modern capital in the world, is Astana. I think that's in Kazakhstan. Never been there. But the architecture is basically New World Order stuff. And I really have to tell you that the United States government screwed up. And I thought Tricky Dick wasn't such a bad guy after all the stuff I've seen. But he screwed us up a long time ago. Not only did he, as vice president under President Eisenhower, put together the assassination team, the hit squad, the riflemen, the marksmen that trained up in Mexico out of the country, that eventually went to work in Dallas, Texas. And they had a female marksman on that team, by the way. There's videos of her talking about it and the fact that she decided something didn't feel right about it, so she didn't answer the call. So she did not participate in the killing of the president. Nixon was responsible for putting that crew together. And if you listen carefully to the Nixon tapes of the White House, he'll talk about the Bay of Pigs all the time. He's not talking about the Bay of Pigs. He's talking about the Kennedy assassination using code so it'll throw us off. Oh, might dig up the Bay of Pigs thing. No, it was going to dig up the Kennedy assassination thing. Well, Tricky Dick said we would miss him. In a certain sense, kind of do. And he was the only president that I ever saw. He landed at the airport, what was I? About age 15, 16. And I saw him get off the plane and put his hands up in the air with his, peace sign, V for victory, whatever it was. He almost looked like a hunchback. And he was not a very nice man. He knew about the Kennedy assassination. He probably knew about it beforehand, so he was an accessory to murder before the fact. And he definitely knew about it afterwards, so he was accessory to murder after the fact. How many presidents did it take to kill one president? The answer used to be 6. But with Donald Trump as president, the answer is now 7. And now we've got another jackass in the White House, so we're up to 8. And you're going to have the 9th president later this month. I'm just wondering who's going to be our vice president. You guys deserve her. Come on, face up. You deserve Kamala Harris. Or as my Latino friend, physician says, Kamala. How evil, how ugly, how bad, how wicked. She will persecute this war, prosecute it, and allow the nukes to go. She'll do whatever the New World Order people want her to do. Remember, she sucked dick to get in her position. Yes, welcome. This is the Dr. Kent Show, and we talk about my views on this stuff in philosophy and psychology. We talk about the Bible on the other channel, Awakening Israel. The link down below is for the one product that I have to sell. The only thing I talk about is the Bible. And I'm watching a video, and it's really getting boring at this point because it looks like a couple of Russian children. Well, the kid's got a beard on. The woman's just beautiful as can be. Long hair, and she's got pink lipstick with large pink frame glasses and a pink kind of sweater, if you will. I mean, she's dressed very femininely in contrast to the current crop of American witches. She's got a lot of appeal, but both she and the fellow that are interviewing this fellow are not up to the task. And now they've been asking questions. I'm an hour and 22 minutes into it. It's called Geological Evidence for the 12,000-Year Cycle of Climate Disasters, Douglas Voigt. You need to watch it. The superordinate goal is very simple. The human species must survive the coming event. That's all there is to it. And Douglas Voigt, actually, V-O-G-T, actually has come up with a lot of answers. I knew it was not quite a 12,000-year cycle. I thought it was 11,800 years, or it might be something that would coincide with computer language or, a binary sort of thing. It turns out it's 12,068 years. And he proves it with quite a bit of evidence, including the Bible. And he shows how he proves the validity of the Bible. And I'm listening to him talk about some of that. I'm actually hoping to hear more of that and more about his philosophy. Yes, he's a Jewish gentleman, but he's not, I can't say that word, I get flagged for it, but he's not one of the bad ones. Anyway, we have to get humanity across the finish line. And I've listened to various sources. The one I trusted the most, notice that's past tense, used to say we were only going to lose 10% to maybe 50% of the Earth's population. Now he's giving an entirely different set of figures. He's giving figures ranging from a very low number like 10 million to the damn number that was on the Georgia Guidestones that were just demolished by the New World Order people themselves, by the way. And so I don't trust that jackass anymore. It's become more of a cult. And his science was pretty damn good. But I'm beginning to think he might be controlled opposition as well. And there's another jackass, also lives in Colorado, who's full of himself, who accused me of being fake news in the comments. Well, we were talking about the boundary stone that's outside of Albuquerque, New Mexico. It's out in the middle of the desert. It's in disrepair. It's deteriorating. We're going to lose it. I think it's a national monument. But they don't want us to find that and don't want us to declare it that. They want us to call it a fraud. If you look at it, it's got basically the 10 Commandments on it, and it's like a marker stone for the southern boundary of North America, meaning this is the law of the land. Here north is the law of the land. I wish I owned the property. I'd set it up myself to stabilize that stone where it is. Now, it has been defaced significantly, but it's still, I think it's worth preserving. Even if it's proven to be the fraud they claim, it's still got significance. Let me bring that backlight up again for you. There you go. So the superordinate goal is to survive this thing. And what did Nixon do? I don't remember the executive order number, but with this executive order, he had the CIA, NASA, and a couple other agencies bury the truth, hide it from the American people, and start on a program of disinformation. It was a bad choice. It was one of the dumbest things Richard Milhous Nixon ever did. Why? Because if he had handed it to the real scientists, we could have been working on it and they wouldn't have wasted our substance. You know, all that money that we've been missing, that's been stolen through HUD and through other organizations, and they claim it's only $21 trillion that is missing, that we basically counterfeited up and spent. It's actually more like double that, more like 42 trillion that they stole instead of 21 trillion. They built dumbs with them. And they were so dumb, they built those in places where they're absolutely useless. The people that go into those will not be coming out of those. Just plain stupidity. All because you had to keep the rest of mankind out of it. And that's also about the same time they decided to start genociding us en masse. And that's what our governments are doing to us around the world. And that's why they destroy the archaeological finds. That's why they destroy the giant skulls. They do that in New Zealand. They do it in America. They do it everywhere around the planet because they don't want us to know the truth. They're worried we're going to discover the truth. Now, I think the truth is a little bit bigger than what Douglas Voigt got a hold of, but he certainly fills in some incredible parts. I think what he lacks is he doesn't go quite back to where these evil ones showed up on the planet. That's okay. He goes back quite a ways, but he doesn't go back quite that far. I got to make a call into another fellow who's a teacher who basically inherited the teachings of another fellow who didn't like me very much, and I didn't like him much at all. I thought he was a son of a bitch. It turns out he was on the FBI payroll all those times as a lightning rod and turning people into the FBI. He was the lightning rod for the Posse Comitatus movement, and the FBI has actually murdered a couple of men protecting him and protecting his cover. One of them was a hideous murder where they cut the guy's hands and feet off with a hatchet. And the other one was a very bloody murder in a jail in Michigan, and it was so bad that some of the sheriff's deputies resigned. It was an ugly mess, very bloody. All to protect one jackass who couldn't keep his pecker in his pants. Anyway, so we have something to unite about in order for us to make it. But the problem is there will be limited resources we can target. And we're all going to want to scramble to the high country, to the safety of the land. This fellow tells us it's not on the equator. It's within 15 degrees of the equator, but not, you got to be at least 2 degrees away from the equator. Which makes sense because as I read the Bible, I pull for the Leviathan. And this scared the hell out of me when it occurred to me. But the Leviathan basically is symbolic for the giant band of water wrapped around the belly of the earth. And when this earth's rotation is shifted, that water gets shifted. The water at the equator is about 500 feet above mean sea level. 500 feet higher because of the forces at play there. And so you've got that 500-foot belly band of water that's going to go washing north and then come back down south and going back and forth because as the planet shifts, it's going to be going up a slight angle, coming down at angles. It's going to zigzag all over the planet. And it's going to be going from the equator south towards Antarctica and zigzagging back and down on that as well. So this fellow, Mr. Voigt, V-O-G-T, he's not got everything from what I can see either. but he's given us some big pieces of the puzzle and proving the validity of the Bible. Very fascinating what he has come up with from the Bible. But what I come up from the Bible is that the Leviathan is the beast in the ocean itself, that massive snake, that body of water around the belly of the earth, around the equator, held in place by the rotation. And if the rotation gets shifted or stopped, the water keeps going. Or if the rotation actually gets reversed, the water really tears things up. The superordinate goal is survival of the species. And, in case you're wondering, I think we need to go after the evil ones, the bad ones. And they will be trapped like rats after the event. They will be deep down in those dumbs, stupid-ass things that they built and wasted money on. And actually, we won't have to worry about it. The Bible says that they'll be drowned underneath there like rats. When I was a little boy in Butzbach, Germany, we used to chase after the mice, and we would flood out their holes, and they would come out and we could catch them in jars. And there was this tree in the back there that my buddy tells me he went back there after a long time, and he says, "You remember that tree?" Well, that tree was really big when we were little boys. I remember climbing up in that thing. He said the tree's really small. and he remembered that I got very upset. I don't remember this myself. I guess it was pretty bad trauma, but somebody was killing the rat or doing the mouse, doing something horrible to it, and I got really emotional and had a fit, basically. And I got to ask David about that. David's maybe 2 years younger than I am. And he made a little bit more of his life, I think, than what I made of mine. He became a captain for a ranger platoon, and he has been abroad fighting wars, some of which I'm sure he can't talk about and hasn't told me about, but I've heard enough to know that he served in so many campaigns it's not funny, till he took a bullet in his helmet. I guess that pretty much knocked him for a whack. Well, folks, I just wanted to bring the good news. The end of the world is coming. Some of you are going to say that's what it is. It's the end of this earth age, and that's all it is. Which is in the Bible, in the apocryphal books, it defines what an earth age is. If you read it carefully, you'll realize it's a 12,000-year cycle. That's what the angel explained to Ezra, the prophet, also called Esdras in the apocryphal books, in another language. If you want to help me, buy one of my Bibles and sit down and read it. Read it for the wonderful stories that are in it. Read it to learn the names of the characters. Character development is important. Plot is important. Just push your way through it. You get to boring genealogies, don't worry about it. They come to mean more, much more later, but much later on. So don't worry about it. You can skip over it entirely, or you can push your way through it. Don't let that hold you back from getting into the real meat and potatoes of it and enjoying it. You will find that you are accessing the mind of Yahweh, the mind of Creator Father. You will find your life changes in subtle ways. You will find that it speaks to you in different ways. It has different meaning for you than it does for other people. And that's purposeful. You will also find that you're less likely to be deceived. You'll know the truth a little bit better than the average yokel. And I like the fact that you'll be doing what Barack Obama, who may actually be Akhenaten reincarnated. They may have actually cloned the son of a bitch. And his wife may actually had been cloned from the wife of Akhenaten, Taya or something like that. And the two children. They had two daughters way back then, thousands of years ago. And they got two daughters today. I know it's a wild thought. I told you. I'll explain things to you. I mean, you need to brainstorm. You need to consider all possibilities. You need to develop some flexibility so you can overcome the prevailing brainwashing, so you can break your way out of it and realize things. Things are going to be happening very fast from this point forward. Just like the Bible says, everything will become known. And it's going very quickly. Men's hearts are failing within themselves, like it says in the Bible. You really want to help me? Don't just buy the Bible. Call the publisher up and get your name on the list for the Apocrypha, the modern English Apocrypha that we're going to do. I want it. I want it badly. I need 5,000 names there. Send an email and tell them you want to be on the list to get the Apocrypha. When you buy a Bible through my links or call in and order it using my name, you will find that the price ends in 77 cents. And you'll also find that the dollar price is the lowest that you're going to find anywhere. Prices will not always be this low. Prices will be going up. You need this because we are at the end of the age, and that Bible is the key and tells you what's coming. And there's a lot left in the Old Testament that hasn't been fulfilled yet. Don't believe the big box churches. They're full of lies. Don't believe the education racket. They're full of lies. Don't believe the government. Those were the three evil creatures that came out of the beast's mouth, out of the dragon's mouth. Like three giant chodes, three demons, three evil spirits, like an evil trinity. And our governments are against us. They're trying to genocide us. I think that they figure they'll have less of us to fight when they come out of those dumbs. Less to deal with, because we will be gone. And they're also worried that we might discover who they are and what they're about before they get a chance to go in those places, which I think is what the Bible tells us we're going to be doing anyway. You will find in the Bible a guy named Esau who became known Edom, and he's the evil dude. He married into the wrong bloodline. And all these royalty people, and even Putin, claims they're all descendants of Vlad the Impaler from Romania, from the Transylvanian hills. And all these wonderful actors and actresses especially are claiming that they're from Vlad. You know, Count Dracula. I've been to the castle, and so I'll give you the missing piece. He was a giant. The bed was huge. The room was big. The bed was in the middle of it, and it was huge. He was not a small man. He probably was on the order of, looking at the bed, he could have been as much as 12 feet tall. He was a giant. So they're descendants of the giants. All your presidents, so it's claimed, also are descendants of that jackass back then. And he did psychological warfare like you wouldn't believe. He was a master of it. He took his own people and sacrificed tens of thousands of them to stop invading armies. And he did it. I think the people there are very proud of Vlad. You know, why? Well, the invading army from, I think the Turks were going to invade the, what was that empire called? Oh, I should know that off the top of my head. They lasted 11,000 years. The longest lasting empire on the face of the earth, for good reason. Because they limited the professions that the bad guys could hold. They limited the whole group. They didn't even sort the good figs from the bad figs. And they were able to exist for 1,100 years, 1,100 years. Oh, man. I'll think of it when I get off the doggone video. I'm, got brain locked at the moment. So, we have got a superordinate goal. That's survival into the next Earth age, as intact as possible. And you can forget about taking anything but knowledge with you, because all the electronic gear is going to just be toasted. So much electricity is going to be going through the earth that I don't think any of that's going to survive, even down deep. I don't think it's going to survive. I think the electricity is just going to go right through everything. And that menorah that the Jews claim is theirs, that's one of the plasma displays that occurs during this event. And the event is going to be in the year 2046, somewhere between September and December. And then we'll start another Earth age. The Earth will go through birthing pangs. And it ain't going to be easy for us on the surface. But you and I are from people that have survived this before. Most likely. Perhaps that's not entirely true. Perhaps it's not true at all. But a lot of people survive. Certainly the earthy man survived, because the evidence is the earthy man, the Enosh or Enoshwi, those are the terms in the Bible that were also interpreted as man and men. They were here for at least 1.75 million years. And the incredible thing is that during these periods, the end of the age, the beginning of a new age, we have extinction events and speciation. And people do not understand speciation. I don't understand how it happens, but now I realize that there's that greater intelligence that probably regenerates the earth, a regenesis. That spirit that hovers over the water and terraforms the land. I believe the Filipinos will tell you Tagalog was the name of that bird that hovered over the waters. And in our Bible, it says the Spirit of the Lord hovered over the deep. Could have been a bird. Could have been a spaceship. Could have been just God himself and right there doing it. We just don't know, but we're going to find out. Some people are going to find out. 2046, how old will you be? Well, I don't plan on making it that far. That'll put me at 94 years of age. My uncle is beyond that. He's gone beyond that. He's doing pretty doggone good. He's the oldest Kent ever to have lived on the earth from our genealogies, which go back to just short of the Elizabethan era. And that's kind of a sad thing, because those folks over in England from the Kent family need to do a little bit of research, because you're going to find out that, that your Shakespearean plays were written by a man whose last name should have been Kent. But it couldn't have been Kent, because it would have meant the beheading of your queen. Yeah. And that fellow didn't just do the Shakespearean plays. He gave you the 1611 King James authorized version of the Bible. And I give you the best correction on that there is, called the proper name version of the King James Bible, in which we restore the names of Yahweh, and we interpret the other names more accurately as well. For one, his name was not Jesus. It never was Jesus. It was Yeshua, which has saving in the meaning of the name. It means he who saves the anointed. And so that's part of the great fraud that's going on. And then on top of that, we've got the Messiah mentioned very often in the proper places. And that is more important than being a Christian in many ways. Because there never should have been a faith called Christianity based upon the Bible. The way that they called themselves, they didn't call each other Christians. It was the Roman pagans who derided them and called them a racial slur. They called them Christians. They called themselves followers of the way, followers of the faith of our fathers. Yeshua, the Messiah, who you call Jesus Christ, as if he had the last name of Christ, he called himself, he said he followed the faith of our fathers. That's what he referred to it as a couple of times in the Gospels, the New Testament. And the members themselves called it the way. This was the way. That's all there was to it. This is the way. Well, folks, I'm going to cut it at a half hour. You've got it, your superordinate goal. It's survival into the next stage. In case you're wondering, that Sphinx goes around pointing at different constellations out in the heavens. And when it gets to a certain point, triggers, it's a clock that lets you know when it's time. And it will line up again with that clock, and we're going to get another day of the Lord on the face of the earth. It's going to be wicked. And our sun will attack us, throwing lightning bolts at us, like the people in that city at 14,000 feet. The city was not at 14,000 feet when people lived there, but now it's at 14,000 feet. They tried to depict it for us in their artwork to show us the lightning, the snakes of lightning coming off from the sun at a particular cycle. They even gave us a time for it. You can count the rays on their sun, on their artwork, and you will see if you... I don't know what it means to right now, but I'll find out what it is. Maybe one of you knows what it is, and will put it in the comments for me. Oh, man. We're learning so much. We're finding out quite a bit. We know that our government is evil. We know that it's actually a world government in which we've got a puppet show going on there. We've got a bunch of actors and actresses putting on a big act for us. They're not calling the shots. They're following the shots. Just like Biden getting set up to be taken down. So Kamala Harris, how evil she is, will be your president probably within the month. After the 20th for certain. Not before the 20th. So that she can serve out the rest of Biden's term and still have a term or two terms left to herself. If she can make it. I think the people will rise up and we won't have another president for a bit until we get this government straightened out. That's a good possibility. Your CIA and NASA have been lying to you all along. It is a bunch of wickedness what they've been doing. And they've been following orders of Richard Milhouse Nixon. Tricky Dick, Richard M. Nixon. I didn't realize that he could do that much damage to us in the future. That's all I got for you. Yahweh bless the Republic of America.